Some incredible polling numbers out today for Donald Trump. Suffolk University USA Today with a poll today. It's got Trump leading by 11 points with Latino voters, 48 to 37%, while polling at 17% with black voters. Both numbers, if they hold up on Election Day, would be records for a Republican. So how does the Kamala campaign respond today? Well, she took the day off. Apparently a day with Liz Cheney in Michigan was too much for Kamala to handle 14 days from an election that could come down to a handful of votes in a handful of states, and Kamala had no public events scheduled today. This while the media is stuck on something Donald Trump said about Kamala, allegedly working at McDonald's. How dare you suggest that Kamala never worked at McDonald's? Here's what Trump said.
Mr. President, you actually have worked at McDonald's now versus...
Now I have worked at McDonald's. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala.
Are you going to put this on your resume?
I never worked here.
Okay, so the question, did Kamala really work at McDonald's? 14 days away from what's going to be the biggest election in the majority of our lifetimes has somehow become the question of our time. It's also a question that would be very easy to prove if it was true. And the case for Kamala lying about this whole thing is pretty strong. I'm going to take you through it. So first, we've never seen a photo, just like we've never seen a photo of her firing a gun. We've never been told where this was or when this was. The New York Times claims that she worked at McDonald's in 1983 in California, but we don't know. We've never seen a W-2. And what's really interesting to me, Kamala has written 2 books. She doesn't mention her time flipping burgers in either book. And we can't find any record of Kamala talking about her days at Mickey D's during her campaigns for district attorney, attorney general, or senator, which is really odd. Because if you worked at McDonald's, that's something a politician would talk about. Politicians talk about that type of thing all the time. They do it to try to connect with voters, especially in local elections where people might know the McDonald's that you're talking about. Oh yeah, I've been there before. The other interesting part of the story is, and I think this is very obviously a lie, but it's that Kamala Harris and McDonald's aren't seeing eye to eye. McDonald's has a full-time archivist on staff, someone who is paid by McDonald's to keep track of McDonald's history and any famous people that might have worked for McDonald's, and yet we've never heard a word from McDonald's. Don't you think that's a little strange? If the sitting vice president, by the way, she's been vice president now for almost 4 years, if she was a McDonald's alum, don't you think we'd know that? Like we would have heard that from either Kamala or McDonald's at some point over the last 4 years? Kamala's defense also pretty weak. So here's Kamala claiming that she worked at McDonald's in classic Kamala fashion.
Madam Vice President, do you work at a McDonald's?
All right, here's the conclusion from the New York Times after a backbreaking investigation by the writers at the Times. They say, quote, Donald Trump has claimed without evidence that Ms. Harris never worked at the fast food chain. Her campaign and a friend say she did. I'm serious. The New York Times printed that above the fold, front page. Great investigating right there, New York Times. So her campaign and a friend say that she worked at McDonald's. That's good enough for me. Case closed. Krupke, shut down the office. Investigation's over. The New York Times wrapped it up for us. Excellent job. Great work. Look, I don't care if Kamala worked at McDonald's or if she didn't, but I do care if the woman who might get elected president 2 Tuesdays from today is a liar. I think that matters, but I will let you at home be the judge of McDonald's Gate. It's also hard to miss that the media right now is doing exactly what they did in 2016. They are inadvertently helping Donald Trump win. They don't even know they are doing it. And the bias from people like Norah O'Donnell at CBS is absolutely astounding at this point. Certainly one of the reasons that CBS just let her go. She's not going to be the evening news anchor in January. But imagine you're home last night, right? You're cooking dinner and you flip on the nightly news just to get caught up on what happened on a Monday. And this is what you get on CBS.
Election Day is just over 2 weeks away, and the fight for every single last undecided vote in battleground states is intensifying. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting disaffected Republican voters by hitting the trail with Liz Cheney in the crucial blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Cheney was a powerful Republican congresswoman, and today she called Harris a responsible adult. As for former President Donald Trump, he was back in North Carolina again, pushing false claims about FEMA and immigrants. That's after he spent the weekend slinging a crude insult at Harris, engaging in lewd locker room talk about the late golfing legend Arnold Palmer, and staging a campaign stunt at a Pennsylvania McDonald's.
Anybody else laugh about the Arnold Palmer thing? I laughed at that. I thought it was great. I thought it was hysterical. I bet Arnold Palmer, the late legend Arnold Palmer, would have laughed as well. But that right there from Norah O'Donnell, remarkable. Here is Out of Touch. Here is Norah O'Donnell. See the space between? That's why starting in January, she's not going to be the anchor of the CBS Nightly News. As I mentioned last week, on Wall Street, they call it a leading indicator, which is basically something that investors use to try and predict how an investment will perform. They're trying to see the future. I'm seeing several leading indicators right now that point toward Donald Trump having a very good night in 2 weeks. The first is the early voting numbers. This is not getting a ton of attention, but they're more important right now than any poll that you're going to see. And if they continue like this, the election could be over before next Tuesday, or check that, 2 Tuesdays from now. In 4 of the 7 battleground states, more Republicans have voted early than Democrats, and we've never seen that happen before. So pollsters this morning woke up fairly dumbfounded that 15 million Americans have already voted in this election. The other thing that no one is really paying attention to, the AP NORC just found that 70% of Americans say the country's going in the wrong direction. So think about that. 7 out of every 10 people you saw today think America is going in the wrong direction. Some of these people have Harris wall signs in their front yards. And when you factor in that Joe, Barack, and Kamala have all been in charge for 12 of the last 16 years, it's really tough to justify voting for 4 more years of what we've just gone through as a country. Another piece of the puzzle is that trust in the media right now is at an all-time low. 31% of Americans say they trust what they're getting from the media. So that means that with CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all doing everything they can to convince you to vote for Kamala, it's probably not working. According to the Washington Post, when asked who do you trust more to handle threats of democracy, the Washington Post just doing this a few days ago, Donald Trump has got a 3-point lead over Kamala, which is really wild when you think about it. When asked a question like that, think about what the media has told us about Donald Trump for the last 8 years. Voters clearly trust Trump more. The Washington Post had a piece yesterday that talked about housing prices in battleground states, writing that, quote, according to a Post analysis, nationally home prices have gone up 48% since 2019. And I get it. If you're not buying a house or selling a house, this is not really a big issue for you. But to millions of Americans, this is the issue. Donald Trump was president in 2019. My wife and I bought a house when Donald Trump was president. And I can promise you that mortgage rates in the 2s sound a whole lot better than mortgage rates in the 7. And that's the difference between Trump and Kamala right there. Finally today, look at these numbers. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution came out with their final pre-election poll. And in a state that really matters, Georgia, Trump is up 4 points over Kamala Harris. And that's the whole race right there. That's Trump versus Kamala. And look, on their own, none of these stories sound like much or might mean very much. But when you start to piece this stuff together, the stuff that most people don't think about or talk about, you start to make a fairly compelling case for Donald Trump having a historic night 2 Tuesdays from today.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.